As villagers, we wouldn't dare burn up the money from the tontines without contributing. You'd get an earful. Even your grandkids would hear about it.
These women say it's about more than an interest-free lump sum. By giving a sense of community, purpose, control and achievement, the tontine itself hits the jackpot.
Last year, the government of Kenya introduced a new HIV/AIDS prevention method known as pre-exposure prophylaxis. Kenya became the second country in sub-Saharan Africa to roll out this new HIV prevention method, which uses ARVs to protect HIV-negative people from HIV before potential exposure to the virus. The rollout that begins today hopes to provide the opportunity of one to test themselves in their own privacy. Here's a report prepared by reporter Sharon Momanyi earlier.
This is the blue pill wonder set to revolutionize the fight against HIV and AIDS in Kenya. Set to be officially rolled out by the government in April, the oral pre-exposure prophylaxis, or PrEP, is used on people who are HIV negative but who are at considerable risk of contracting HIV. When taken daily, PrEP drastically reduces the chances of infection.
Once it's in your body, it protects the body cells, sort of coats them, so that the virus does not enter the cells, because it takes the virus to get into the cell for you to be infected. So while the virus is circulating around and has not entered the cell, then the body will fight it and eliminate it.
For a country that for decades has seen the ravaging effects of the AIDS pandemic, this news is almost too good to be true.
Mimi ninataka niwapongeze madaktari ambao wamefanya utafiti sana mpaka wametoa dawa ambayo itakuwa inasaidia binadamu kuzuia ugonjwa ya ukimwi.
I think that the government is doing a good thing, especially for the discordant couples. Yeah, that's a really good move by the government, and also for the sex workers, because no one deserves to get HIV, no matter what they do. Yeah, it's really good.
The drug, going by the trade name Truvada, only works for those who are HIV negative, and those to use the treatment must undergo medical screening before they are enrolled. It is specifically intended for those at high risk of infection, including those in HIV discordant relationships, that is, where one person is HIV positive and the other HIV negative, in sex workers, men who have sex with men, and young women. Research has shown that women between the ages of 15 and 24 are more at risk of contracting HIV than older women.
PrEP is not a vaccine. PrEP is a drug that you load your system to prevent you from getting an infection.
What has been in existence is a post-exposure prophylaxis, PEP, a 4-week course of ARVs recommended for emergency situations only. Critics of PrEP have expressed strong concerns that it could encourage sexually risky behavior, reduce condom use, and with that, increase the spread of other sexually transmitted diseases.
Kwa kweli hiyo PrEP itafanya watu wakuwe too careless, because they will just watajiachilia na watakosa matili kwa jamii.
I also want to differ with many opinions that this vaccine will encourage promiscuity. All in all, we must embrace this vaccine and give it a test. The only worry is maybe the side effects that it may have and the misuse by many Kenyans.
The message is PrEP is not a magic bullet. It needs to be used as part and parcel of the package of interventions, including correct and consistent use of condoms.
Kenya becomes only the second country in Africa to approve the use of Truvada after South Africa. Trials for this PrEP were conducted in Kenya in 2016, involving up to 1,700 people, mostly drawn from the high-risk groups.
PrEP, like any other medication, is not without side effects. And those side effects include things like nausea, vomiting. You may have a mild skin rash, and it can also add to or complicate an existing kidney disease. Therefore, that's why we are saying for you to start on PrEP, you must be screened.
A big question on the minds of many is the cost of this quote-unquote wonder drug.
For a beginning, we are going to offer this drug at no cost, thanks to the collaboration between the Government of Kenya and our partners who have supported us. So first of all, we'll offer it in the public healthcare facilities that are going to be selected across the country. So in April, we'll be able to release that list of the health facilities. But if one wishes to access it privately, then it costs between 6,000 and 7,000 shillings per year.
The Kenya National AIDS Strategic Framework seeks to reduce new HIV infections by 75%. This latest strategy may just inch the country closer to this achievement, with a pill a day keeping HIV away. An estimated 1.6 million people are living with HIV in the country. This number may significantly reduce in the future should the PrEP drug be rolled out and used effectively. However, emphasis is being put on the need to use other measures in combination with this in order to curb a possible ripple effect of a rise in other STIs. Sharon Momanyi, KTN News, Nairobi.
And Kenya launches the pre-exposure prophylaxis today at the Radisson Blue Hotel here in Nairobi. Let's cross over there and listen in to a skit that is currently going on.
I will show you how we use it. That one is oral and this one is blood.
Okay, so both of them?
Yes.
Okay.
Regardless of our status, if we turn negative, the better. Take control and stay negative.
Okay.
But if it turns positive, we need to go and seek more medical attention.
Okay.
Yes. Meanwhile, we won't do it right now. Let's go and have lunch.
Yes.
Well, I'm still laughing. Don't just as I hope lunch is finished. Can we confirm? So those are the young people called Blast. They work with us, and they have done a great job on this initiative of self-testing. So at this point, please allow me to recognize the self-testing TWG, kindly, wherever you are. These are the men and women who've been working day and night to make sure this test is available. Can we give them a round of applause? Thank you very much. So we're moving on now to some speeches, and I'm informed we keep them short. So first to come on stage is my boss, Nelson Otuoma. Although Nelson is the father of...
All right, and joining us in studio for more on this conversation, Micah Anyona, who is a supply chain advisor from Japiego. We also have Dr. Eve Muthoni, who is the HIV program officer from NASCOP. Many thanks for joining us on Worldview. So let's begin with this rollout today and probably what PrEP is. Let's begin with that, Doctor.
PrEP is pre-exposure prophylaxis, and it's an intervention involving the use of ARVs to those individuals at greatest risk whose HIV status has been confirmed to be negative. So individuals who perceive themselves to be at risk of infection can take once a day pill to give them protection against, to minimize their chances of getting HIV infection. Yes.
That is PrEP, and we talk about individuals who feel that they're at risk. Dr. Muthoni, we just ran a report here by our Sharon Momanyi. A group of Kenyans, they're feeling that this is something that is likely to increase risky behavior. How should PrEP be used?
So basically PrEP is a pill that should be taken once a day. And they feel that it might increase risky behavior, but that should not be the case, because as far as we are advocating for PrEP, we are also advocating for condom use, so as to prevent STI infections.
Right.
Yeah.
So how does PrEP then prevent the spread of HIV? Because there's also a very thin line among the public between PrEP and a vaccine. Many think it works as a vaccine.
No, not really. It's PrEP is what we call like a biomedical intervention. It's a drug that prevents like the virus to multiply, to copy inside the cell. That's what it does, and that's how it works. Yes.
So more importantly, maybe to you, Mike, the side effects. Many are also wondering about that. How are the side effects? What is the state of access to PrEP in the country as we speak?
Yeah, PrEP, as any other medicine, has a potential for side effects. However, from the studies and the demonstration studies which have been undertaken, the side effects have been quite minimal, and they actually wear off after 2 to 3 weeks. The individuals could experience mild side effects such as headaches, stomach disturbances, nausea, but it's something not to worry about, because within 2 to 3 weeks, they should be able to wear off, and the user should be comfortable to use them within that duration they perceive to be at risk. In terms of availability of PrEP right now in the country, the rollout has already begun. A few health facilities are already giving out PrEP, right from those who are doing the demonstration studies and the new sites. And as we launch the use of PrEP today at the ministry, the PrEP rollout will reach to all health facilities, and every Kenyan who perceives themselves to be at risk are welcome to visit and consult their health providers on the availability of PrEP.
All right, so let's focus on the situation or circumstances that would see one then take the PrEP medication, Dr. Muthoni. So who, at what point does one feel at risk? Because there are those who say the risk of exposure to HIV increases every weekend. So it is something they're already foreseeing. Who is at risk of exposure?
Okay, basically it can be anyone who can be at risk of exposure, but there are people who are at a higher risk than others, particularly the sex workers, what we call the female sex workers, the male sex workers, the people in discordant relationships, like if your husband is HIV positive and you as a wife, you're HIV negative. Also, the people who have multiple sexual partners. Those are the people we are thinking about. Yeah.
All right, so let's focus a little more on discordant couples and when they should take PrEP, especially those looking to conceive.
Okay, so those are some of the things now that you have to discuss with a healthcare provider, but PrEP does not necessarily, it's not a hindrance factor from you to actually, if you want to conceive. These are some of the things that you need to discuss with a healthcare provider, because some of the things that you're considering is the age, the reproductive aspect, yeah? Those are some of the things we're considering. So you have to talk to your healthcare provider about fertility intention.
All right.
Yes.
Mike, what does the rollout of PrEP in the country today mean for Kenya's fight on HIV?
I think this is a great progress as a country. And as we know that despite all the HIV prevention methods we've had in the country, we are still seeing a high number of new infections, especially among the youth and also among those at greatest risk. So as a country, I think this is a revolution. It's a game changer, and we expect that within a year from now, or by the end of the 2 years from now, the prevalence or the incidence of HIV infection should dramatically go down, and those persons who are at greatest risk, the risk of getting infected should be highly reduced.
Right. I see you have a bottle of pills here. I don't know if this is what the PrEP looks like.
Yeah, this is actually the current packaging for the PrEP we have in the country. It is a pack which contains 30 tablets. They are blue in color currently, and they need to be consistently be taken once a day. And adherence is very key, and it is highly advised that clients should not miss any single pill, and adherence levels guarantee that protection they need against HIV.
HIV, all right. So I'd like us to cross back over to the Radisson Blue Hotel, but when we come back, we'll be discussing the legitimacy of this medication in the pharmacies that are available in the country. But let's head over back to the Radisson Blue Hotel, where the PrEP launch is currently happening. Nelson Otuoma, the chairperson of NEFAC, is currently speaking. Let's listen in.
Thank you, Nelson. Nelson works for me, and I sometimes work for him. So, but please, let's clear the fences. Yeah. So next to come to give some short remarks is representatives from the county. We were supposed to have Dr. Magara. Are you in the room? Or whoever is representing Dr. Magara? I'm told it's Dr. Evans Mumo. Yeah. Kindly. You know, we are launching documents, but where the rubber meets the road is in the counties. So, karibu.
Thank you, Dr. Sirengo. Our chief guest, the DMS, Dr. Kioko, our partners, the other Ministry of Health representatives, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning. On behalf of the County Directors of Health, our chairman, who is not here today, Dr. Magara, I wish to appreciate what is being done today for the country as we launch and as we move forward to launch the PrEP and the self-testing. And maybe at this juncture, I would like kindly to request all the County Directors of Health present to just stand up, please. Yes, thank you. I would also like to request all the CASCOs, the County AIDS STI coordinators, kindly stand up so that we can appreciate you. CASCO. Thank you. As you can see, that's a team from the counties. This is a team which will be involved in really, as you have said, Dr. Sirengo has said, where the rubber meets the road. And we are pledging to work with you in implementing this, the PrEP and the self-testing kit. And we are going to be working together so that we can pass on this to the community because, as you have said, will require a lot of the community involvement. And therefore, I'll not have much to say. Mine is just to say thank you and we'll work together. Karibuni sana.
Thank you. Can we please borrow that leave of being brief? Thank you so much, Dr. So we continue with the remarks, and I would like now to invite Dr. I call him Dr. Macharia Gerald. Is he in the room? Yes. You will remove the disclaimer of doctor.
Thank you, Martin. I have never actually pretended to be one. My PhD, when I last looked at it, was in business strategy. So, and I prefer not to use the title doctor for very good reasons. Good morning, everyone. And it's nice to see faces here that I haven't seen for a while. I probably shouldn't be standing here making speeches. Last time I checked, I had been banned from making speeches in NASCOP functions because of making the wrong remarks. So I'll try and toe the party line here. So Dr. Kioko, chief guest, my colleagues, head of agencies in public health in Kenya, all other courtesies observed. I actually don't have any remarks, but I'd like to say one or two things which are not necessary remarks. One is can we have another round of applause for NASCOP? This? As young people say, these guys are the bomb, they rock. That's what I hear my sons telling me once in a while. They rock, because we're here doing this because of their energy and their courage and their ability to move pieces that in other circumstances probably wouldn't move. So well done, NASCOP. And of course, they are supported by a whole bunch of people in this room. So you are also part of this milestone here. I love my country, don't you? We make bold steps in very uncharted waters, very unusual territory, So, and this is just one of them. I'm told, Dr. Kioko, that in 2 weeks' time we'll be the first country to launch the use of integrase inhibitors as part of HIV treatment by adopting dolutegravir as part of our regimen, and that's a huge step once again for this country. As CHAI, my team has been part of this process of putting this together. I saw a few of them stand up here and get the applause, so don't give it to me, give it to them. All I did was to sit at my desk and get reports. And so far I can see that the reports were actually genuine. So I don't have to fire anybody, But there's a lot of work that has gone on, even globally, to get us here. We've been negotiating as CHAI for lower prices for self-testing kits. There's very good progress there from suppliers in India and China. And we should be able to get, our goal is to actually get your self-test down to the same price as a rapid test, and we'll get there. Trust me, when I next stand up here, I'll probably be telling you that we've already gotten there. And so we're working on that. And we're working with a whole bunch of other things to support this process and to get us where we want to go. We've been doing a lot of work on dolutegravir, just like I have said, globally. Not just getting the prices down, but getting the formulations into the hands of the folks like NASCOP to get us going. There's ongoing work on what is famously known as TLD, which is a 1 pill a day tenofovir-based triple combination regimen. That's in the works, that's also coming. We're working on that right now. So there's a lot of work that's going on that will help us knock the ball out of the park on the 390s. I think the first 90 is being taken care of here. The second 90, that we're probably the first country outside of South Africa to run 1 million viral load tests this year. We've been doing a lot of work with my PEPFAR colleagues on that, and we're on track to get to that point. And on the third 90, I've just spoken about TLD and the adoption of integrase inhibitors. So we'll get there. We'll knock those 390s out of the park. And thank you very much. Those are not remarks. Those call them something else. But thank you.
And that is the Radisson Blue Hotel, the rollout of the self-testing kit going on there. And here in studio, Dr. Eve Muthoni, who is the HIV program officer from NASCOP, and Micah Anyona, who is the supply chain advisor from JAPIEGO. And Dr. Muthoni, there's a lot of concern now of drug resistance. How often can one take PrEP? And is there a concern of drug resistance possibility when one takes it too much?
Okay, the thing is, once you start taking PrEP, you should take it until when you feel you're no longer at risk to stop taking it. Because you can't do the start-stop. Mm-hmm. So we advocate for you start, and when you feel you're no longer at risk, that's when you can be assessed, and then you stop taking it. Yeah.
All right.
In addition to that, PrEP is only taken by individuals who are HIV negative. Hence, chances of establishing resistance are actually not there. Mm-hmm. But the practice for once you're on PrEP is to be tested every 90 days. Mm-hmm. And for this is really to establish you are still HIV negative. And in case you are tested to be positive, then you are supposed to transition into treatment.
Right, so it is possible for one to become infected with HIV while on PrEP medication?
Yes.
Chances are usually very minimal. Mm-hmm. But in case somebody is not adhering to treatment, the chances of getting infected are highly increased. Mm-hmm. And in case that happens and they are still on PrEP, then the establishment of resistance is highly likely.
Okay, all right. Let's talk about
let me just add to that bit about resistance. So what happens is every time when you're taking PrEP, when you come to the clinic, you're meant to be assessed for what we call acute HIV infection. The major sign of that is fever. So the study that was done, like it's only 2 patients who developed HIV. Yeah, who developed resistance towards the HIV drugs. This is because they had developed acute signs of HIV infection. So those are some of the things that actually a patient should be assessed for in every clinic visit. Yes.
All right. So let's focus a bit more on the self-testing kit, because that's also being rolled out today. What impact do you think this is likely to make on the fight on HIV?
So on the self-testing kit, so this is basically, it was started to actually advocate for the male involvement. We had a very big problem, and you know, with the HIV, we have 3 90s. So the first 90 is about ensuring that all patients are tested. So we want to encourage especially the male as well as the young people, because we are having a problem with them trying to get access to them with regards to self-testing. So we expect the testing rate to go quite higher than how it is now.
In the country,
yes.
Right. So a bigger concern then would be the legitimacy of these testing kits and of the PrEP tablets on the market, because there's a very alarming article on the Standard newspaper this morning that many of the pharmacies in the country offer drugs and kits that do not measure up to international standards. In fact, the report goes ahead to point out that many of the HIV testing kits we have in the country have returned quite a number of false results. So in terms of legitimacy, how does one make sure that this is a legit kit and a legit PrEP pills?
If I could talk about the HIV, the PrEP medicine, there are robust mechanisms in the country to ensure that whatever comes in is it's the approved and of high quality. So currently, all the medicines we have for HIV treatment have never been found to be of poor quality, or their quality has never been in question.
But that report points out pharmacies in Kenya and HIV tests in Kenya.
Yeah, for the ARV medicines, we've not had that. For the kits, probably it's something the government needs to investigate and find out and put in detailed mechanisms to avoid any potential of having poor quality kits.
All right, Dr. Muloni, your thoughts on that?
So actually what happens is when we get reports, alarming reports about the kits, we actually go and investigate as the government. And so far, like once a case is done or about the test kits being faulty, we actually go on the ground and we assess it ourselves. Yes.
All right. So let's talk more access of this medication. Are the self-testing kits and the PrEP pills free?
Currently, the PrEP medicines are free within the public health facilities. Access within the individual clinics could attract costs, but the current costs compared to what is in the public sector is not very high. At 400 shillings a month, the PrEP medicine can be accessed within the public sector. But for the private sector, if the originator product is accessed, then the cost is likely to be much higher.
All right. Dr. Muthoni, even as we wind up, tackling the issue of stigma, because correct me if I'm wrong, but PrEP was initially meant to treat those already infected with HIV, and now it's used to reduce exposure for HIV-negative people. But that stigma is still there when you're taking the PrEP medication. How far are we to go? I mean, are we yet to go in terms of fighting stigma?
Yes, you're right. Stigma is a very big problem with regards to the population. And what we are trying to do is, especially the stigma we are dealing with is amongst the young people. So we are trying to have messages and health talks, and that's why we're even having this organization called BLAST. So it talks to the adolescents about how to deal with HIV, how to deal with HIV in the workplace, and also involvement of people at the workplace, at work with the Federation of Kenya Employers. So stigma, we are dealing with it as NASCOP, and also it's something that is a continuous process.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That is Dr. Eve Muthoni, who is the HIV program officer from NASCOP, and Micah Anyona, who is the supply chain advisor from Japiego, here on Worldview, speaking to us about the rollout of the self-testing kit in the country. And just a reminder of our Twitter poll question we are asking you this morning: do you believe that those seeking elective posts as independent candidates do not stand a chance in the August ballot? Do you believe that those seeking elective posts as independent candidates do not stand a chance in the August ballot? Your results are in. 50% of you say yes, while another 50% of you say no. And just to sample a few of your comments, Jackson Dungu says it will be very difficult for them to clinch those positions. Victor Odhiambo says independents stand a very high chance. The Kenyan voter is now more informed